Hey book lovers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenna and today I am very excited because I am going to be talking about the best books that I read in 2016. Now these books did not all come out in 2016, these are just my favorite books that I've read this year. All of these books I have given 5 stars on Goodreads. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to keep the descriptions of these books short just because I have quite a few I'd like to talk about and I don't want this video to be too long. So without further ado, let's get started with my favorite books that I've read in 2016. The first book that I would like to talk about is The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. This is a very dark fairy tale and I would highly recommend it if you like fantasy, fairy tale retellings, or just kind of a dark, creepy adventure story. Very much recommend. Does that make sense? Sure. The next book that I would like to talk about is really a series, and it is the Throne of Glass series. I fell in love with this series earlier in the year. I just marathoned it all the way through. It was recommended to me by a coworker, Julie. Hi, Julie, if you're watching this. And I fell in love with it. Highly recommend if you like young adult fantasy. The next book that I would like to talk about is Bossy Pants by Tina Fey. Hilarious. I love Tina Fey, and I listened to the audiobook mostly on this book, and I just very highly recommend the audiobook. So funny. And then immediately following Bossy Pants, I wanted to pick up Yes Please by Amy Poehler. I was just very much in the mood for this after reading Bossy Pants. Yes Please is just as funny, and it's funny because they both talk about each other and one another's books, and I just very highly recommend it if you like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. Both of those books are very, very enjoyable. The next book that I would like to talk about is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I enjoyed A Court of Thorns and Roses, but A Court of Mist and Fury was just exponentially better as far as character development and world building, and there's so much growth in so many areas in this book. And if you are hesitant to start this series, or if you were kind of iffy about A Court of Thorns and Roses, I would recommend that you keep going because A Court of Mist and Fury is definitely worth it. The next book that I would like to talk about is Room by Emma Donoghue. Oh gosh, this book just got to me. It was so interesting. Room is about a young boy, a 5-year-old boy named Jack, and his mother, who have been held in captivity for 7 years, or the mom was held in captivity for 7 years, and Jack has grown up in this one room for his entire life. So for 5 years he's been held in this room and it's all he knows. It just tells the story from his point of view and how they are eventually rescued. It's not really a spoiler. They are eventually rescued, and it was just so interesting to read about. So I highly recommend Room by Emma Donoghue. The next book is Raymie Nightingale by Kate DiCamillo. I loved this book. I love every book by Kate DiCamillo. I still would say The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane is my favorite by her, but I very much enjoyed Raymie Nightingale too. It's told from the point of view of, I want to say she's 11, an 11-year-old girl named Raymie, and it was just so touching. Kate DiCamillo really knows how to write from the point of view of a child. I love her writing style. It's just very dreamy and childlike and just very, very sweet to read, I would say. The next book that I would like to talk about is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. I really enjoyed this book. I could see how some people might not enjoy it because there are a few issues in here that could be seen as problematic, and I get that. But the reason why I have it on this list is I just really enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed reading from Louisa's point of view. I thought she was hilarious. I loved the atmosphere. And the movie, I feel like, was just as good, if not better. Very much enjoyed both the book and the movie. The next book that I would love to talk about is Young and Beardless by John Luke Robertson. This is a autobiography / motivational / inspirational book written by John Luke Robertson, who is the son of Willie Robertson of the Robertson family on A&E's Duck Dynasty. I just love everything about them. I've read a few other of their autobiographies. I want to say Phil Robertson's Happy, Happy, Happy. That was really funny. And then Uncle Cy's book. I am totally blanking on the name. Oh, Psychology. both very funny. And just generally enjoyable as well, just learning about how they grew up and how their family came to be. I just love everything about them. And John Luke's book was no different in that it was full of wisdom, especially for, I want to say he was 18 or 19 when he wrote this book. I just very much enjoyed it. I would recommend it if you are about to graduate high school and kind of go out into the world for the first time, or if you're looking for a gift for a high schooler. It's geared towards that age group and finding oneself in the world. I just really liked it. I read it in like 2 sittings. The next book that I would like to talk about is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I loved this book. I talked about it more in a previous video. If you haven't read it, please do. It is so worth it. It's not too long. It's got beautiful illustrations, and it is already made into a movie. It hasn't been released yet. It is going to be in theaters on January 6th, I believe, and I cannot wait to watch it. It was just an amazing, amazing 5-star read for me. The next book that I would like to talk about is Wolf by Ryan Graudin. This book was so awesome, just awesome. It is an alternate history retelling, showing the world as it could be if the Nazis and Hitler won World War II. It is just action-packed and fun and scary and just so cool. It's so fast-paced, and you will not want to put it down. I highly recommend Wolf by Wolf. I haven't read Blood for Blood yet, which is the sequel. Planning on reading it in January. And it is a duology, so I don't know how I feel about that. I love duologies because you can get through them quickly, but I'm really liking this world, and I want as much of it as I can get, so we'll see how I like Blood for Blood. And the next book that I have to talk about is probably my favorite book that I've read all year. I could go on and on about this book, and that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Now, this book is a monster. What was it? It was almost 700 pages. This book took me well over a month to get through. But I'm not complaining because it was so good from beginning to end. Excuse me. It is an adult fantasy epic adventure story of this one man named Kvothe, and he tells his story, and it's just, I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that it is just epic and almost satirical in a way of the traditional fantasy adventure story. I would highly recommend. It is not intimidating either. So if you're intimidated by reading adult high fantasy books, don't be with this one. It's very good, and I'm so excited to read the next book, which is The Wise Man's Fear. Although I'm kind of saving it because the Doors of Stone, which is number 3 and the final book in this Kingkillers Chronicles trilogy, that hasn't been released yet. So the publication date hasn't been released yet, and there's no end in sight really. So I'm kind of saving The Wise Man's Fear until it gets a little bit closer. That way I'm not just waiting for the 3rd one to come out and have no idea when it's coming out. So The Name of the Wind was fantastic. And the last book that I would like to talk about that I read this year was A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. I loved this story. It was so touching. It was heart-wrenching, heartbreaking, heartwarming, just all of the heart emotions. This was such a great story of an older, grumpy gentleman and how he came to be that way, how he used to be in his youth. And it just tells a story about how some new neighbors move in next door and they really change him without him even realizing it. Very highly recommend the story. It is so sweet and sad, but just ultimately meaningful. I just really enjoyed this, and I think you will too. So there you have it. Those are the books that I've read this year that were my favorites. So all of them I gave 5 stars, and I just can't wait for the new year so I can start reading some new books, and we'll see how my favorites are for next year. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please feel free to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you soon with my next video. Bye!